are celebrating the center's 11th Commitment to Justice event with our distinguished honoree, Dr. Millicent E. Brown. The center is indeed privileged to have this tireless warrior and activist for civil rights as its 2021 Commitment to Justice Award honoree.
I talk about her all the time as one of my ethical and moral North Stars.
Those two things, courage, grace, and I should say three, and being extremely persuasive were the character traits that struck me most about her.
People are very mean, and when they're prejudiced, they find all kinds of ways to isolate you and demean you, and you have to be very strong to sustain yourself in that environment.
The ugly side of racism showed up and showed out. When she would walk down the hallway, the white students would part like the Red Sea and go to the walls and cringe and make noises as if she was a pariah of some sort. And I'm speaking directly from an interview that was given a few years ago. Dr. Brown remarked in the interview that that's the sort of thing you never forget. How can a 15-year-old forget that kind of treatment? Indelibly scarred for life. In the ordinary person. But for a revolutionary, take that pain and you turn that pain into victory. And that's exactly what she did. There were other slights that she would experience during her next 3 years at Rivers. White girls would crowd into the bathroom stalls to keep her from using the restroom between classes. How cruel. At large gatherings of the student body in the auditorium, when students would walk in pairs down the aisle to exit, white students refused to walk with her. By her senior year, I guess Millicent had had enough. She decided to fight back. Millicent would remark of that period in time, and I quote, "I kinda got my backbone. I was not this little colored girl who's just so happy to be at their school that I'm going to let y'all dictate to me how everything works." She said she had to grow into that.
To speak out, to stand up for what she believes in, and be a role model for others to follow.
But to decide to go to Mississippi, I mean, sure, it was all for civil rights, it was all for progress, but still, people were being killed in Mississippi, beat up, and, you know, this was like a big deal. But I remember that she had to kind of stand tall, despite the concern of her father, especially her mother, especially her sisters. I think that for me is like representative of Millicent's character. Millicent, you know, when you do something one time, people will say, okay, well, that was an example of courage, profiling courage. Character is what you do every day, day in, day out, whether the lights are on, whether the lights are off, whether anybody's paying attention. Her decision to go to Mississippi was like so logical, so, well, yeah, if you're gonna make the change, you gotta go where the change needs to be made the most. You gotta apply the pressure at the pressure point. And I look at that as having made a significant impact on the evolution of my own character.
But not only has she used her anger to be an activist, but also to be an educator and to help other people understand the depth of racism in this country and what it's going to take to create the kind of world we really want.
A steward, one of the earlier practitioners of bringing to cause this issue of the treatment of African Americans in this country, which is, you know, as we know, systemic and endemic, and she continues to this day.
We who believe in freedom cannot rest. she has never rested on her laurels. She's never rested on what she did yesterday. Her commitment is a commitment. It's a lifelong commitment. It's like she put that on as her parents' child, and she's never taken that garment off. And that to me that's very deep in terms of what we see today. It's very important that folks know that you can be who you are, even if that is challenging and creates discomfort at times for others and for yourself. You can have that authenticity, that integrity. You can be who you are, say what you have to say for your entire life.
In the words of Dr. Brown, the community deserves to know what it is that can and will be different in your curriculum, in your school board meetings, in your museums, your archives, your public libraries, your tour associations, and your beloved organizations. That will ensure continuing service to the African American community and public at large. Dr. Brown, I thank you for your teachings.
Dr. Millicent Brown was and continues to be a champion for justice. You heard it also just said, a truth teller. And whether you want to believe it or not or accept it, a revolutionary. So thank you from my heart to yours, Dr. Millicent Brown, for your commitment to justice, for your commitment to excellence, to your commitment to Black power, Black love in the struggle for social justice, for paving the way, and for offering your shoulders for these new Jack revolutionaries and for me to stand on. And because of that, tonight, Dr. Brown, Millicent, we salute you.
I believe in speaking the truth as I know it at the time, with willingness to keep an open mind, continue learning and listening, but never worrying whether people disagreeing with me are upset or disturbed. Beyond speaking the truth, I have stumbled into a habit of begging people to stop pretending that complex issues and problems can be resolved simply or swiftly, and without identifiable principles which hold our actions accountable. But those who exert power in the classrooms, on governing boards, in the pulpits, the elected officials, and all places where we need people to openly uphold decency and respect for others, these people must be reminded. They've got to be assisted, but they've got to be challenged. My civic contributions and opinions over the years have often been rejected and criticized, but I firmly believe the processes we go through to seek answers and better ways to live together must be held to a consistent level of integrity. For example, we can all look at past failures to help strategize ways to find better approaches in the future. But that requires an honesty and willingness to be unpopular and admit we don't know it all. Thank you for honoring me tonight, for saying to the world that people are needed who do not accept expedience, that standing up against duplicitous agendas and self-serving actions really is the only way to make progress.
Keep on doing what you do as well as you do it. There are a lot of younger people whom you are inspiring, and we need to do this and carry your legacy, your work forward. Congratulations.
Thank you for this honor and the reminder of our individual ability to affect change and improvement to our full world citizenry. I thank you.